It's the best passing team he has ever seen.
And what's interesting is in the 4 years that Tim Cluess has been here, that's been the case all along. Certainly Scott Machado led the country in assists a couple of years ago. You change the pieces, it's the same play. They distribute the basketball, beat you from three, and offensively score the basketball.
Quarterfinal Saturday is underway here in Springfield, Mass. Gary Tracy, Kevin Ferguson, Gary Pacino are officials for game number 1 of 4 with Rob Kennedy. And we'll be joined also by Mitch Bonaguro roaming the sidelines here this afternoon and this evening for us, as Anthony Miles turns the ball over.
And clearly an unforced turnover. Williams at the point of that zone at 6'7" gives him good length at the top of that zone defense.
So Iona came here to Springfield not needing to bring their garnet or gold uniforms. They can go white the whole way as the number 1 seed. Ryder in its road cranberry as the number 8 seed.
And one of the things talking earlier today with Kevin Baggett, he said, I'm going to switch defenses up more than we have all season long. In each of their first 2 meetings against Iona, they played mostly man. He said, I don't know why I would think if we played mostly man that something was going to change after losing to him twice in the regular season.
Corner 3 for Williams. Good patience in the half-court set that time for the Gales.
Yeah, they certainly can spread you out. It's not 1 or 2 guys that can shoot it from deep. They've got 4 guys that are terrific from beyond the arc.
Valentine couldn't handle the pass, and the held ball possession arrow goes to Iona.
Well, as you said, good patience, trying to find the open look, dribble penetration. You kick it out to Williams. Williams 5th best in the MAAC at 42% on the season. And Doug, they've got 4 guys in the top 9 in the conference and 3-point makes per game. I guarantee you there's not another team in the country that's got 4 in the top 9 in their conference.
English turns it over. Valentine taken out from behind by Williams, and he'll shoot a pair. Iona also has 2 guards in the top 5 in the conference in assists per game, and Sean Armand and A.J. English.
Yeah, their offensive numbers just blow you away.
So Valentine at the free throw line. A young man with a bright future for the Ryder Bronx. I was talking with Ryder assistant coach John Brady before the ball game and talked about the fact that while he has a little too much movement in that jump shot right now, they work on it, and he really likes his future over the next 3 years with Bronx.
Yeah, he had a very good freshman year, a bit of a disappointing sophomore season, but you're right, they're still high on him. He's got to really commit himself in this offseason to work on that outside shot and become a little bit more aggressive.
Also one of their top defenders. Armand, good ball fake, lost it on the way up. Trey Bowman went to save it. Turns out it was good that he didn't try to save it because they say it's Iona basketball. There's a look at Sean Armand, first team all-conference again this year, averaging nearly 18 points per game. And this is Bowman, the Penn State transfer, and here's Armand, 6'5" senior from Brooklyn. And again with the shot clock under 10, the Gales attack. And again they find a corner 3. Bowman gets the bounce.
Well, when you shoot it that well, you get bounces like that. Good dribble penetration again that frees up the open 3. So they've got 2 good looks from 3, Doug, but it's been off dribble penetration with paint touches off the bounce.
Bowman picks up the personal foul. Earlier this week, the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference announced its All-MAAC first team, and Billy Barron last night announced as the player of the year. But there are the 2 Gales on the first team, Armand and English, along with George Beeman of Manhattan, and Ike Azotam, the top rebounder in the conference this year for the Quinnipiac Bobcats. Jimmy Taylor, a member of the all-rookie team with his first 2. Freshman from Branford, Florida, makes it 6-4. Another open look from that same corner. This time Bowman puts it straight through.
Now, one of the problems if you play them with the half-court trap the way that Ryder's doing here, little 3/4 court trap, they pass the basketball so well, Doug, and then shoot it from 3 over top. That's a tough combination to try and hit them with that 3/4 court press.
Taylor from deep. Long rebound comes down to Valentine. Ryder down 5, resets. Anthony Miles, one of the seniors trying to extend his career here this afternoon. This another one, Danny Stewart, and a blocking foul on the spin. And that'll go against Mike Poole, the senior from Rosedale, New York. Well, in Thursday's first round game, Rob, Danny Stewart, who's not necessarily the most verbal guy when it comes to his teammates, huddled up his teammates when they were losing by 8 to Monmouth and said, quote, "I'm not ready to go home." And he didn't just say it, he went out and backed it up.
Well, and Kevin Baggett said that was great for him to see, because at times Danny Stewart has been a leader, but it's been mostly by example. And he said, you know, sometimes you got to have the vocal leader, and sometimes your teammates have to hear it from one of the players and not just the coach.
David Lowery with his first touch, able to put it up and in.
And he gets isolations in the post because you got to spread 4 perimeter defenders out to the three-point line to guard all their shooters. And Lowery, one of the best interior scorers in the league.
Well, sure, he's the most efficient, best field goal percentage in the conference, and he does not shoot three-pointers. He's a terrific rebounder as well. And Sean Armand just went down to the floor. And a Stay English will inbound along the baseline. English has it rattle out. Stewart pulls down the rebound. Stewart, foul line jumper, no. And he's going to be whistled for the foul. And Stewart's had a marvelous career at Ryder. He currently stands 3rd all-time in rebounds. Of course, Jason Thompson of the Sacramento Kings is the all-time rebounder in Ryder history, but Stewart number 3. He was Rookie of the Year in what seems like just yesterday. Goes so quickly. Armand, wide open 3. Bowman. Travel. Another open look for Iona. Didn't knock that one down, but they have had the range from beyond the arc. Up 7 early.
It was the ability to partner with the Basketball Hall of Fame, and that partnership will continue as the MAAC is the host of one of the preseason exempt tournaments with the Hall of Fame tip-off.
The 8th-seeded Ryder Bronx taking on the top-seeded Iona Gales here in the first of our 4 men's quarterfinals in Springfield. And Rob, with a different format to the tournament this year because of the 11 teams in the conference. Danny Stewart has the ball slip through his fingers. The first round games were played Thursday, and they were able to take yesterday off. So that's a great benefit for these underdog teams here today.
Yeah, maybe not such a big advantage today, but if we're able to win a couple of games as the tournament moves on, it's a huge advantage. Having to win 4 games in 4 days is really asking a lot.
Well, Kevin Baggett and his staff took advantage of yesterday to just take it easy. Took the team to see the movie 300, Rise of an Empire. Apparently his seniors chose that. It's not necessarily what I would have chosen, but Coach Baggett said that the guys loved it, he enjoyed it, and it was a good thing to get away. And then they came back to the arena last night and enjoyed watching the Ryder women's team advance to the semifinal round somewhat unexpectedly. So it was a nice leisurely day yesterday for the Bronx. Armand with a burst of speed, and he's fouled on his way to the basket, and he'll be shooting 2 free throws. There's Coach Baggett. In the regular season finale against Ryder, Armand nearly went for a triple-double. He had 19 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists.
A pretty good day at the office, and that speaks to how he has evolved his game. When he got here as a freshman, he was a designated hitter. When he came in, knocked down threes, and certainly that's still the biggest strength of his game for Tim Cluse, but he has expanded his game, can put the ball to the floor, get by people, has really worked hard to become a good all-round player.
And he's always played with a dominant point guard his first 3 years. He didn't need to probably expand like he has this year. You know, he had Scott Machado, who went on to play in the NBA when he was a freshman, and then Momo Jones as well. And so this is the year where he has stepped up especially. And it's amazing what he and A.J. English have been able to accomplish.
Yeah, remember, A.J. English not as you mentioned, necessarily a pure point guard. But once they put the basketball in his hands, this team became a totally different team and has played such great basketball coming down the stretch.
And as Iona fans will tell you, I mean, AJ was just beginning to blossom last year when he went down with the injury, and he could have grown into an even bigger part of last year's team that won the MAAC championship and went on to the NCAA tournament for the second straight year.
And he's an example of a guy who got hurt, had the wrist surgery in January. Had not been for that, he would have certainly been an all-rookie selection.
Scoring drought now for Ryder, more than 3 minutes long. They've missed their last 8 from the floor.
And the problem is the Gales don't miss many on this end, so you got to play good defense against the Gales, but Doug, you got to play good offense because you cannot stop them from scoring, and so you've got to be able to match some of their offensive firepower.
Well, the Iona teams that we've seen over the years, Rob, and even before Tim Kluse got here 4 years ago, where would you rank this team in terms of pure offensive talent and depth of talent?
Well, now that Tim Kluse has gotten everybody onto the floor and got guys in different roles, like look at what David Lowry's been able to do now as the sixth man over the last 13 games. How about 12-1, one loss in overtime at Manhattan. So this team, I think they've got as many offensive weapons as any of those Iona teams. Now, a couple of those teams back in the day had some guys that were certainly NBA caliber players like Stevie Burt. Gary Springer, before his injury, was a guy that looked like he was a surefire NBA star. But this team, with their ability to shoot it, I think this is the best collection of shooters that the Gales have been able to put on the floor.
Anthony Miles for 3 to break the drought. Meanwhile, Kevin Baggett says his team is the best collection of shooters he's ever had.
Yeah, the problem is they just haven't guarded this year, where last year they guarded the basketball. Teams have been able to score it way too easy against the Bronx. 10th in the league in field goal percentage defense and 11th in three-point field goal percentage defense.
Armand from NBA range, no. These are the 2 most efficient three-point shooting teams in the conference, both just a touch under 40% coming into the tournament.
Well, that's a big-time move there by the freshman Jimmy Taylor to get deep into the lane but stay on balance with a nice pull-up.
Bowman finds a crease, and he'll go to the free throw line.
Well, you see these two teams not only tops in the MAAC, but 2 of the best in the country. Both just a tick under 40%. Creighton with their great shooters, led by McDermott, who certainly looks like he's the odds-on favorite to be the National Player of the Year. There's another three-point shooter, Tommy Pereira, checking in. So both these teams, they've got a lot of guys, and if you're going to shoot it at 40%, it can't be 1 or 2 guys. You got to have multiple three-point threats, and both these teams do.
Trey Bowman now with 8 points to lead all scorers. There goes Miles off to Stewart. The pass a bit behind him. So what could have been an easy 2 turns out to potentially be a turnover.
Yeah, right decision, put it in the right place, just made a bad pass. He threw it behind him.
Well, this Ryder senior class, we just see Tommy Pereira come into the game a moment ago, but Miles, Stewart, and Pereira have been very close for their 4 years together on the Lawrenceville, New Jersey campus, and they've been through a lot, and they just want to continue their seasons. And you know, you played Division I basketball, Rob, how quickly it goes by, and you think about it coming in. Well, 4 years can be a long time, but before you know it, you're at your last ever MAAC tournament, hoping like heck you can make it to Monday.
And there's nothing like the finality of when it's over. When you lose that last game as a senior, I don't care if it's in high school or in college, it's certainly, you can't get it back.
Here's Zed Sadler, sophomore point guard from Detroit. Inside to Stewart, goes to the left hand. Lowry with the rebound.
And they rebound and run. You got to get back in transition.
Foul on the rebound. And it goes against Mike Poole. What makes David Lowry such a good rebounder? He doesn't jump particularly well. Isn't a big, physically imposing guy, really. But he's just a terrific rebounder.
Well, one of the things is he's got great hands. And you saw it on that play with the spin in the lane and a great pass out. But what he does is he carves out space. You don't have to rebound above the rim, and certainly he doesn't do that a whole lot, but he does clear space.
He's the 4th leading rebounder in the league, but when you get him at his best, when he's motivated and into the game as he's been for the last month and a half, he's as good a rebounder as there is in the league. And here comes Lowry, going to try and go coast to coast. Sadler to the corner. Pereira for 3. That was halfway down and came out. Lowry hustling back for the rebound.
You got to make some of those so that you don't allow the Gales to get in transition like this.
There's the range on the jump shot for Sean Armand, and Ryder calls timeout. Coach Baggett incensed that Valentine didn't get out on Armand. Cut down the nets once and would love to do it again. They wound up falling short 2 years ago, but did get an at-large bid into the NCAAs. And then last year, won the championship. Danny Stewart up above the rim.
Now that's how you have to finish against the pressure defense. They've missed a couple of threes at the back end, attacking that pressure D. That time Stewart left no doubt.
Now Stewart defending on Lowry. Iona up 9 with the basketball. Lowry.
There are those great hands again. He just snatches everything around him.
Scramble for the ball. Tavon Sledge into the game, comes up with it. English left the jump shot short, and there's Danny Stewart surrounded by white shirts and able to get it out to Sadler.
They've got numbers.
Miles for 3.
Well, they've responded off the timeout, scoring 5 straight.
Miles now with half a dozen, pulls Ryder back within 6. And by the way, Danny Stewart now the number 2 all-time rebounder in Ryder history, with only Jason Thompson out ahead of him.
And if the only guy you're looking up at is Jason Thompson, you're in pretty good company.
10 to shoot. English. The Bronx continue to come at you. How about the finish by Valentine?
One of the things that Kevin Baggett talked about, he said, even though we lost both games in the regular season, the fact we got down big and fought our way back.
The MAAC and ESPN have very exciting news for MAAC sports fans. ESPN has launched a dedicated MAAC channel available on the Watch ESPN app and Apple TV and Roku devices. Bowman. He was fouled by Junior Fortunat. Step away as Riders riding a hot streak. 7 straight points to draw within 4.
Did a great job of rebuilding the program. Jeff Rulin, who had great success at Iona as well. He's here in the building scouting today. And certainly when you think of coaches, though, at Iona, the guy that pops up, rightfully so, as number 1 is Jimmy Valvano. One of the reasons why Valvano won so much, he had that guy playing for him inside. A high school All-American and certainly one of the greatest players in Iona history. A guy that could rebound the basketball and outlet it like nobody's business.
Yeah, and Jeff Rulin went on to be an NBA All-Star and a longtime head coach at Iona. Did you have an opportunity to say hello to Rules before the game? I know you said you're going to go try to see him.
No, but I just texted him that I'll see him at halftime.
Gotcha. Okay. We'll catch up with Rules and find out what's going on with one of the all-time greats in Iona history. Pereira tries to continue the run for Ryder. Junior Fortunat short on the putback, and Bowman pulls away the rebound.
I think it's hard for people to understand how good of a player he was in high school. And he chose the Iona Gales over the likes of Kentucky. Imagine that happening in today's day and age.
Probably not. But Jim Valvano had a way about it.
Yes, he did.
Very persuasive. He persuaded a lot of talent to come to New Rochelle. Williams with the layup. And that breaks the 7-0 run. Good answer at the other end by Khalil Alford, sophomore from Raleigh, North Carolina, just into the ball game.
And against the Gales, you're going to get in the game of runs because they score it so quickly. Not only do they average 84 a game, but they string together 7, 8, 10-point runs. And one of the keys is always to neutralize them and not allow those runs to get out to be like a 13-1 run or a 15-0 run.
Good defense by Ryder in the zone. Coach Bonaguro was talking during the break. Still, Iona makes him pay with Sean Armand. And Coach Baggett is asking
as well so far.
And with that, where you can spread the floor, as we were talking about before we went to break, a guy like Junior Fortune out on the backside of that zone. I mean, he's 6'10", he's a big guy. He's got a lot of ground to cover because they've already given up a number of corner threes here today. Bowman with the steal. Up and over Stewart for two.
And when you turn it over, they're coming right at you.
Easy to forget about Trey Bowman a little bit, but he averages over 13 per game. He's already got 11 here this afternoon.
And to me, the league coaches forgot about Trey Bowman. I thought he was a guy that should have been on an all-league team. I think he had a terrific senior season, averaging over 13 a game, at 6 games of 20 or more. Sometimes I think people think, well, you know what, they've already got 3 guys on an all-league selection, and you put other guys on to make everybody feel well. I think Trey Bowman was a guy that deserved to at least be on the 3rd-team all-league.
Trey told me earlier this season his greatest memory from last year's championship run and trip to the NCAA tournament was the look on his coach's face here in this building after they got back into the locker room following the opportunity to cut down the nets. Priceless moments that happen here and only here at tournaments such as this around the country. Once again, wow, they make you pay quickly. Williams in the blink of an eye with 2 more.
Miss or make, they're taking it and they're rushing the ball up the floor. You go see the Gales practice, and there's a clock every time. And if you don't have the ball up the floor within 6-7 seconds, Tim Cluse is all over you. It's not by chance that they score it as well as they do. Led the country each of the last 2 years in scoring. This year they're in 4th, but scoring it at 4 more per game, right?
Yeah, they've been trending up as the season has gone on. Valentine, 2-point shot. One official said 3, one said 2. They will check it at the next stoppage of play, but I do think it was a 2. You know, we play at facilities like this where you do have that NBA or D-League line. Then you got 3 lines, and if you're around the top of the key, I can easily see where you might get confused, and I do think that was a 2. Shot blocked by Fortunat. Here comes Valentine. Tries the left hand again. That's going to be Ryder basketball after Williams tried to save it, but only found the backside of the backboard.
The other thing with the 3 lines, Doug, is the white line, the hardest one to see for the officials, is the 3-point line for us. And so the NBA line is in black, and the high school and women's line is in black as well.
But the white line, for our purposes, the only one you're worrying about. Miles tries the left corner, and he finds the range again. He'd been successful twice from the right corner, now 9 points from the senior from Dover, Delaware.
So it's one senior who carried the load in the first round. That was Danny Stewart. And so far, it's his senior partner, Anthony Miles, that's keeping the Bronx in the ball game.
Sledge, Bowman, Williams, Lowry, and Armand on the floor for the Gales, the regular season champs, having gone 17-3 in conference play. Lowry's fouled from behind by Khalil Thomas.
Here's the great hands again of David Lowry. Even though it's tipped initially, he's able to go corral it. And much like you asked, how does he get himself so many rebounds? Just by creating space and using his body. Same way he's able to post it up.
Only 6'9", 255, a junior from East Orange, New Jersey, who has finally found a home. I mean, he bounced around. And in this day and age, a lot of high school and college players move around prep school and junior college. And Lowry had a journey that rivaled any. But over the last couple of years, he seems to have settled in nicely at Iona.
He got off to a strange start of this season based on what he did in the half a season that he played last year. Guys expected huge things. He was a preseason first-team All-MAAC selection. Got off to the slow start, but then Tim Cluse challenged him. Took him out of the starting lineup, and I don't know if Tim Cluse knew how David was going to respond to that. Well, he responded great. Been playing terrific basketball coming off the bench in the last 12 games. One of the reasons the Gales have been so good.
Final 5:35 of the first half, and quarterfinal number 1 here at the MAAC Championships. Danny Stewart off the mark. Here come the Gales again. A.J. English back on the floor at the point. Lowry puts his shoulder down. He and Stewart came together, and it's Stewart who picks up the blocking foul.
And he is a tough matchup. He's got a funky basketball skill set and a funky body to go with it.
We've yet to see it, but he loves to spin back.
Yep.
Drive with the right hand, then spin to the basket. And so if you're a defender, you don't know which way he's coming.
No, and you're right. And he gets himself, they spread those 4 guys out at the perimeter, and he gets into the lane. He's looking to spin, half spin, and he keeps you off balance.
There is Lowry. Again, carving out space and a chance for 3.
And that's why you never save the basketball under your own basket. A mistake by the senior Danny Stewart. You're better off taking the ball out of bounds or throwing it down to the other end. Instead, it becomes an assist.
Stewart's going to have to go out, having picked up that personal foul. On David Lowry's college debut last season, having not played organized ball in over a year against a very good LaSalle team, he went for 21 points and 14 rebounds. First possession, put it on the deck, spin, move, bucket.
And it's not as if he was sitting out practicing with the team, as you said. I mean, he just stepped right in. Yeah.
But wasn't in great shape.
Nope. Just shows you how darn talented he is.
Yeah. Now, he was recruited by a number of big boy programs and certainly shows that skill set. How about Junior Fortunat? That is what has been missing for this Rider team all year. That sort of presence inside.
He caught both you and I off guard. But you're right, that was a terrific finish with his left.
And the block shot. Number 4, the Bronx. Valentine, though. Pocket pick by Sledge. There's Fortunat filling it up. And all the while, Iona coach Tim Cluse waving his arms saying, let's go, guys, let's go, guys. And they listen. A.J. English with a quick answer.
And it's hard to prepare for that because most times you score at that end with Fortunat's basket. You know, you kind of jog back and you feel good about yourself. You cannot rest for a second because the Gales, they're running downhill coming this way every possession.
With the discussion in college basketball this year about possibly reducing the shot clock. Foul on Lowry will send Miles to the line. This Iona team doesn't even consider the shot clock, but maybe a couple of times a game.
A good drive as once again Anthony Miles has been aggressive, the natural lefty, able to finish through contact with his right hand.
Now he can fill it up. Joined the 1,000 point club back early in the season against Rice in the Cable Car Classic. He's now got 12 here today. 3rd team all conference as announced earlier this week. Sledge got lucky not to have turned it over. English the pull-up. Miles has his pass knocked away, and Tavon Sledge whistled for the foul. We have reached our under 4 media timeout here in Springfield, Massachusetts. Miles, Sadler, Taylor, Fortunat, and Pereira, the 5 on the floor for the 8th seeded Rider Bronx. Sadler playing on a couple of bad knees this year, misses short on the jump shot.
They're also feeling the effects of a little flu bug, so he's not at 100%.
Lowry working on Fortunat. And Fortunat, not accustomed to playing perimeter defense, picks up the foul. Fortunat 6'9", 235. Grew up in Montreal. but played his high school basketball in Philadelphia. Among the schools and programs that pursued David Lowry, Western Kentucky actually committed to the Hilltoppers initially. Also committed to UMass for a time. I know Baylor was involved for a while. Had all sorts of big-time programs that were interested in this young man. He was a New Jersey native and showing his skill set. Challenging for a double-double here in the first half alone. Down by 13 with 2:40 to go in the half. What is Ryder's goal at this point?
You got to try to get yourself to a single-digit deficit heading into the locker room. But a couple of things you got to do. You got to figure out how to guard at this end. And they haven't been able to do that. And then they've got to be patient on the offensive end. Iona doesn't want to guard you for 35 seconds in the shot clock. And at times, Ryder is obliged by taking quick shots. Kevin Baggett's team's got to be a little bit more patient, I believe, on the offensive end. It's one thing to score quickly in transition, but then when that's not there, then make them work through the possession.
Ryder had a 7-0 run earlier in the half to cut the lead down to 4. But since that time, Iona has responded well. This ball game will advance to the semifinal round to take on the winner of our next quarterfinal. It'll pit Billy Barron and the Canisius Golden Griffins against the Siena Saints in the 4-5 game. Stewart double team.
They've doubled every time out of the zone when the ball's gone down to Stewart on the post.
Valentine perhaps took his eye off the basketball.
Tell you what, the Gales have been active in their zone defense. Good at closeouts, getting out to shooters. Their defense is bother driving.
Now, Rob, on that double team of Stewart, Lowry immediately backed off from Stewart's blind side. Stewart didn't feel that the double team wasn't there anymore. Why did Lowry back off? Is that by design?
I'm not sure if that was by design. Certainly the second guy coming in was by design. But sometimes as a defender, you want to disengage because as a post defender, if you're leaning against the offensive guy, well, he knows which way to spin, which way to turn to drop step on you. But when you disengage, now a lot of times guys don't look over their shoulder to locate you quick enough.
Because in that circumstance, Stewart, had he known, could have just turned and shot, but didn't realize because, as you say, disengaged. Miles hit the side of the backboard, fortunate to have it come back. A little better look that time for 3.
Well, he's single-handedly trying to keep him in this ball game. There's this half-court trap early in the ball game. They struggled because of plays like that. They just passed the ball too well. Lowry out at the point here, able to get the ball into the high post of that trap. I'm not so sure the Gales are a team that you can have a lot of success.
Team that is really moving in the right direction. John Dunn's club is on a roll, and then Quinnipiac against Niagara. On the bottom side of that bracket, what do you see, Rob?
Well, certainly coming in, Manhattan's been playing good basketball, but as you said, Peacocks have won 5 in a row. St. Peter's playing good basketball. The other thing that I think will be most intriguing is how does Quinnipiac bounce back? They lost Dumar Shannon in the second to last game of the season, a loss at home against Siena. And then without him, and then with limited minutes from their all-conference player like Azotam, they just got their doors blown off up at Marist. But they've got a little time now to regroup. It'll be interesting to see how the Bobcats respond and play tonight.
Another three-pointer by Trey Bowman. He's now got 17 points. Final possession for the Gales, who will walk it up. The only time.
I was just thinking the same thing. You don't often see Tim Cluse put his hands up for stop. It's usually like the third base coach waving them through.
Yeah, I'm surprised English recognized a stop sign from the coach.
Look at that.
Lowry slips the screen, and There's no foul called. He can't believe it, but smartly, after hopping once, handed the basketball over and headed to the locker room. All Iona up 16 as we head to break. Our halftime.
Necessarily get that 15-0 run, but they let too many runs as the Gales were able to string points together.
Second half underway with the Bronx with the basketball first in their road. Cranberry as the number 8 seed. Taylor, Valentine, Miles, Thomas, and Stewart. Starting 5 here. Here is Stewart, and he's called for an offensive foul. That's his third personal, and he just shrugs his shoulders. It's 16 seconds into the second half. What am I supposed to do?
Well, here he is. Good catch as he shapes up inside. That's just awful. That's just a bad call.
So now if you're Kevin Baggett, what do? You leave Stewart out there for now, but again, your senior leader has just picked up his third personal.
It's one thing if you completely lower your shoulder and knock a guy over, but he's just going strong and try to attack the rim.
Here at the other end, Sean Armand hits the 3. Armand, Bowman, Lowry, English, and Mike Poole. The 5 starters in the second half. Strong move to the hole by Khalil Thomas. He's playing with 3 fouls as well. First 2 points for the freshman from Parkway, Florida.
And here comes the trap again from Ryder. Let's see if they clean things up. They'll figure out a way to keep the ball out of the middle of the floor against that extended dig.
Now, obviously, Coach Baggett has decided to keep Danny Stewart on the floor, at least for now. And if it was you, Rob, what would you do with Danny now with those 3 personals?
I'd keep him on the floor. I mean, you've got to make a run here within the next few minutes. Get yourself back in the ball game. You don't want him sitting next to you, but you got to guard him. You know, we talk about whether it's out of man zone. Sometimes you just got to lock down and lock your man.
Sean Armand with 5 quick points here in the second half. Stewart with his second field goal. How about that move we just saw Sean Armand make, as Williams gets into the paint and then stepping out from long range. We talked in the first half, Rob, about the things that Armand does in his game that we wouldn't have seen in years past. That fancy finish in traffic never would have occurred in previous years.
You're right. And he wouldn't have even attacked the rim the way that he did, let alone finish once he got himself into traffic. A perfect example of a guy that committed himself in the offseason to expand his game. More guys did that, you'd have more complete players.
And Lowry, he used to play for the Washington Bullets. But Rules was not a guy who went up above the rim very regularly. I'm guessing he appreciates the things he sees out of David Lowry.
Yeah, Rules when he played was as good at using his body, angles, and leaning up against guys as anybody that played. An NBA All-Star because of his ability to position himself.
Tough finish for Taylor and a chance for 3.
Good finish through traffic as Taylor, the freshman, continues his fine play. Had a bit of a lull mid-season, and his confidence wasn't there. I remember doing a game mid-season against St. Peter's where Kevin Baggett said, I just said to him, look, if you don't take more than 10 field goal attempts, I'm going to be totally ticked off. Like, you've got the green light. You got to play with some confidence. From that point forward, he certainly is a guy that's been playing with great confidence.
Strong finish for Miles. At 16 points now to lead the Bronx. English. Tough shot. Fortunat into the ball game with a rebound.
Yeah, good call. That was a tough shot. Hide behind that ball screen. Didn't need it.
Stewart, the extra pass to find his classmate Miles, who continues to fill it up.
That's a way to share the basketball, make the extra pass, and ride the hot guy.
And this the second 7-0 run of the game for the Bronx. Back to within a dozen.
The last time they had a 7-0 run, they let Iona go on an 8-0 run themselves. Let's see if they can back it up. They're not going to be able to back it up if you don't guard anybody.
We talk about valuable people on this very deep Iona roster. Isaiah Williams missed 5 games this year for personal reasons. They lost 4 of those 5 games. Otherwise, they're nearly unbeaten.
Yeah, 19-5 with him in the lineup, and even better when he starts at 17-3.
Valentine connects for 2.
That's a tough-looking shot. Speaking of what you were talking about earlier in the game, Doug, a guy that's got a good upside potential. He's got to have a good offseason to make that big jump from his sophomore to junior year.
Yes, Coach Brady said he has too much movement on the jump shot. In terms of his body, what does he mean by that? Too much movement.
Well, sometimes you got to get yourself and not have your arm out and some extra motion. You've got to have a fluid shot. And right now he's got a little jerk in his shot. A little hitch that you got to clean up.
Anthony Miles does not want his college career to end this afternoon in Springfield doing coach at Siena. And they have paths that have crossed, and I had the wires mixed up in my head. So I know the difference between Coach Griffin and Coach Brady, but it's Coach Griffin who is the one that's really been working with guys like Sean Valentine and Danny Stewart. And he says Stewart is as good an example as he has seen in his time as a coach of being able to really harness your ability and turn yourself into a very good shooter.
Yeah, a guy that didn't even take three-point shots his first 2 seasons. Now this year with 25 makes, and that's because he went into the gym and worked on his game.
Spent a lot of time last summer with one of his brothers at Drexel when he was home off of campus back in Philly. Also doing work on his own to Danny Stewart. And it has been paying dividends, although he has just picked up his 4th personal foul. And again, his coach is allowing him to stay on the floor and play. Valentine with the steal from Armand. Stewart throwing it down.
Now staying aggressive despite those 4 fouls. Nice unselfish play by Miles. Doug, we said Iona plays fast and there's a lot of possession, so if you can get some stops, you're going to have some opportunities to score it at the other end. Well, somebody better go find Trey Bowman. He's taken out being kept off an all-league team by the coaches. He's taking it out on the floor right now.
And taking it out on the Bronx. That's 20 now for Trey Bowman. And they have certainly found the softest spot of that Rider defense. The corners have been wide open all too often. Fortunat misses the jump hook. And Lowry has himself a double-double. Lowry now 16 points, 10 rebounds.
Nearly another corner jumper.
Armand again with the upper body strength to challenge the bigs and get himself to the line.
And all he's got to do is just hesitate for a second, and you know throughout the scouting report, close out, get a hand up. He's a great shooter. And because he is, now you can be a versatile offensive player. And one of the things that Tim Cluse preaches is guys got to be able to dribble, pass, and shoot. When you do that, now all of a sudden you put 5 of them out there. Your offense looks as good as the Gales' offense looks at times.
Now, since Tim Cluse came to Iona, he has not recruited a true back-to-the-basket big. And this is another team where you've got David Lowry, who's a face-the-basket. Well, I shouldn't even put him into that category.
Yeah, he's hard to put into any category. He's so funky.
But do you think it's by design that he and the coaches, because they keep such a pace, don't want to have a 6'10" big out there?
Yeah, good question. I think it's a combination of 2 things. It's hard at this level sometimes to find a back-to-the-basket big post guy that can be effective and score the basketball inside. You know, if you're 6'10" and you can really post up and score it, a lot of times you're in the ACC, Big East, that kind of thing, as well because they play so fast. He doesn't want to slow their team down with the guy that's got to wait to get up the floor.
But a guy like Adam Kemp at Marist, one of the traditional bigs, a 6'10" wide body, effective in the post, wouldn't fit in as well with this Iona bunch probably, right?
Yeah.
With the style of play?
Most likely. But one thing about Tim Cluse is he's a creative offensive coach. And so if he had a post guy that could score it with his back to the basket, I think he'd figure out a way to work him into it.
When he took over the program 4 years ago, they had a young man who fit that bill, a guy named Chris Pelcher, who wound up transferring to the University of New Hampshire and became an all-conference player in the America East. And I just wonder, had he stayed, how would that have worked out? And I know coaches change jobs, players change schools, and it's a very transient world. But I'm just curious how Coach Cluse would figure that out to get an effective big into this offense, which is so efficient as it is.
Yeah, who do you guard David Lowry with, right? I mean, if you put a big on him like Fortunati, comes out to the perimeter, puts it to the floor. Take a look at Iona's scoring balance. 4 guys averaging more than 13 per game. Man, oof. Only one of 6 teams in the country with 4 guys that can stretch it out. And that 4th guy, Trey Bowman, just went for 20 so far here tonight. 7th time this season he's gone for more than 20.
And by the way, Bowman's career high is 29 points at Florida Gulf Coast back in December, so that is certainly within reach. They've already got 3 in this ball game with 16 or more rocked. English, Bowman, Armand, Lowry, and Williams. Another 3 for Armand.
Well, they get the ball into the paint. They've gotten paint touches all game long. Put it into the middle of the zone defense, collapse them, and if you collapse off those perimeter jump shooters, you're in trouble.
Valentine back out for Miles. Ball trickles off the rim to Lowry. Open look again from the corner, and again it's Williams for 3.
And again it's another Iona run as they string them together.
Now 4 Gales in double figures. 11:23 to go in regulation.
That's not the shot you need. In the half court, you got to make them work on the defensive end.
Taylor called for the foul, and that'll take us to break. Tim Cluse's Gales up 71-53.
Collapse that zone defense and then throw it out to the likes of Sean Armand, who's 4 of 7 for beyond the 3, and Trey Bowman, who's 4 of 6 beyond the 3. That's why they are so good offensively.
As a team, they are 10 for 20 from beyond the arc. Poole back into the game for Iona. English trying to join his teammates. He's the only one who's not been able to find the range. Bowman, what a hesitation move. And the finish.
Yeah, nice little head fake to get the defender in the air. Even smiled on that one.
He's a young man who started his college career as a Nittany Lion and having a big senior season here at Iona. Miles, did he take an extra step?
No, I don't think so. He just covered a lot.
Bowman was also recruited by Tubby Smith at Minnesota. He forged a relationship with Tubby Smith and says that he is one of his inspirations, that he wants to get into coaching someday. Bowman would like to coach once his playing days are done. Yeah, the rebounds for Danny Stewart with only the greatest player in Rider history ahead of him, current Sacramento King. What a nice career he's carved out. Even though on the East Coast we don't see him all that much, he has been a solid type of 10, 11, 12 point, 6, 7, 8 rebound type of guy. And with his skill set, he can have a real good career as he's having in the NBA. Whistle against Mike Poole. And I also know Jason Thompson keeps close touch with his former coach, Don Harnum, now the athletic director at Rider University. Very proud alumnus of Rider.
And you see Jason Thompson's numbers, over 2,000 points, second all time. Talk about Don Harnum sporting a little bit of beard right now as his women's team on a run. They've gotten themselves to the semifinals, and he said they won't let him shave.
I just thought he forgot his razor left at home.
You know, coaches are always superstitious, but apparently ADs, it carries over as well.
Well, Don Harmon was the guy who recruited Jason Thompson. Got him out of South Jersey, got him to stay home, and then throughout his 4-year career, as he blossomed into an NBA lottery pick, was able to keep him home, keep him at Rider, and have a terrific 4-year run.
And then his brother Ryan backed it up, was another all-time Rider great. The best thing that Don did is he got Jason to grow 6 inches after he recruited him.
What a move by Poole. The spin for the former Rutgers Scarlet Knight.
But again, it's in space because you've got 4 guys out on the perimeter, and it's just too hard to guard a guy.
Stewart and Miles still fighting. That's Stewart with the putback.
And the only way you have a chance is if you keep fighting. You also got to figure out a way to get something going at this end of the floor. Gales have carved them up like that.
It's a clinic.
Yep.
Uh-oh, the net's stuck again.
Well, hopefully the ladder's a lot closer than it was the last time. Oh, there we go. But the guy who's killed them in that half-court trap is when the ball's in Lowry's hands. Able to look over top. A lot of times it's been from the middle of the floor. That time it was from right here in front of us, just throwing right over top. As skilled as Lowry is, Doug, his best skill might be his ability to pass the ball for his size.
Yeah. And again, Manhattan coach Steve Masiello said recently that this Iona team is the best passing team he's ever seen. And that's not just 1 or 2 guards, that's everybody on the roster. Armand goes around Sadler. The extra pass again, and there's Bowman. Did Valentine get a piece? He didn't miss that badly on his own, did he? Taylor thought about it. Back to Sadler. He's got Valentine on the right.
Well, if you missed the first walk, you might as well get the second.
Well, it seemed like they were destined to turn it over on that possession one way or the other. Sledge in. And it's Trey Bowman who takes a seat.
Now Lowry's got Miles on him, so he posts him up. That's just great recognition by Lowry and great recognition by his teammate.
And then how about the little shovel pass off the bounce to his cutting teammate? So Armand will go to the line when we come back to
tournament. I think we may get that here next.
And in talking to MAAC Commissioner Rich Enser before the game, Rob asked him if he got a sense that the large Siena fan base was going to be mobilizing this weekend to come here, and he said he felt like there was more of that this year than the first 2 years here at Springfield. That the way the team's been playing, you know, Siena fans think, well, maybe we can knock off Canisius and make a weekend out of it.
And certainly they had a big crowd up at Quinnipiac a couple of games ago on a Thursday night. They had a couple of hundred fans that made that trip, so certainly the Siena Saints faithful, I think, is energized as well about this team.
And oh, by the way, you mentioned Quinnipiac. That is actually the nearest school to where we sit here in Springfield, and they have a solid fan base, and it'll be interesting to see how well those folks mobilize. And Commissioner Enser also was very positive about the number of Manhattan fans that are going to be making the trip up here this weekend.
Well, you said if you're going to hang in the ball game, you got to keep fighting. And certainly Danny Stewart has fought his entire career, and he's not going to stop now.
Fourth foul on Mike Poole. It'll stay down at this end. Taylor gets it back from Stewart and hoists the 3. Valentine back out to Sadler. Miles catches the front rim, and again Stewart after the offensive glass. Sadler. First 3 points for the sophomore guard. 80-60. Under 7 minutes now, Rob. If you're Coach Klus up 20, when do you start thinking about tomorrow? Still 3 or 4 minutes away from that?
Yeah, still 3 or 4 minutes away from that. But you're right. They came here not to win 1 game. They came to win 3, and you got to play 3 games in 3 nights. And so managing minutes is one of the things that's a little bit different for any coach once you come into a tournament.
Miles stepped down the sideline. And so it's Iona basketball. Tim Klus has had mixed success in the 3 years here at Springfield. They did not win the championship 2 years ago, but were good enough to earn an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament. And last year they were the team on that Monday night cutting down the nets. A lot of folks hoping for a rematch of what we had last year on Monday. The 1 and the 2, Iona and Manhattan, arch rivals, getting together again. Lowry spins away from Miles, and there you go.
Yeah, put that one in your highlight reel. In space, that is his unique skill set.
You mean that? As you're counting your players 1 through 5, he's number 5 positionally. That's your 5 going from midcourt off a spin through traffic and finishing with your left hand.
And so when you game plan, as I said earlier, who do you guard him with? You got to figure out what you're doing with that. If you guard him with a big, he's going to take you out onto the perimeter. And certainly if you try to guard him with somebody that might be a little bit more mobile, he's going to be able to post him up. The one time that Miles had him defensively, where'd he go? He went right into the post. He's got a good feel for the game, besides having that terrific skill set.
Now, he learned that growing up in East Orange. Is that innate? Has it come over time? How does a guy like David Lowry get that skill set we talk about?
Yeah, it's a combination of all 3 of those things you just mentioned, because it's not just from one thing. It's not just from playing. It's you got to have an innate sense. You got to have a feel for the game, but you also have to work at it. And the more you play and the more different situations you put yourself into, that's when you all of a sudden now can not just think about doing it, but put it into practice.
To shoot. Bowman with the charge. Valentine standing his ground.
And you get the sense, Doug, when they go spread, when they, just like they did in that possession, that at times it almost looks like they're toying with you. Good defensive rotation by Valentine to take away the drive, but when you go start chasing them,
yeah. And this is not a Dean Smith 4 corners type of look. This is a spread you out 4 corners, knowing that as soon as we see an opening, we're going to attack and we're going to kill you.
Yeah, that's 4 to score.
Yeah. Sadler the foul, Bowman to the line. How is Iona different now than what you saw back at the start of the year, Rob?
Well, they're playing with so much more energy and confidence. Tim Klus's team is totally different, and the biggest reason when I had them early in the year was when David Lowry's first game that he came off the bench, and he played terrific in that ball game. And as we said, a calculated move by Tim Klus to take him out of the starting lineup because he wasn't playing well. Well, he's playing well right now, I can tell you that. He's been playing well coming down the stretch. He was the back-to-back player of the week back in the beginning of February. Boy, did he look good here tonight.
There's Lowry with a block shot on Stewart.
Just to remind you. I mean, to me, that's the biggest difference. Once he started coming to play again, things took off. Remember, with Armand, they were preseason pick to finish in second, but both he and Armand were preseason first-team all-conference selections. He didn't play like that in the beginning of the year, and he's been playing like that here late in the year.
I think it's pretty clear, had he played the first 2 months like he's played the last 2 months, he would have been on the first team and would have challenged potentially for Player of the Year. Tavon Sledge showing that little guys can throw it down too.
The biggest play made there is he made sure he boxed out Isaiah Williams to go get that basketball. He wanted that.
January, and he told me back in late January, I'm back to dunking again. Hadn't seen it until today, but there's proof that the ankle's feeling much better. Taylor thought about it. Long rebound comes to Alford. Thomas. Tap back out to Pereira. Alford hits the three.
So a season that started with a lot of promise for the Ryder Broncs. They got off to a 3-0 start in the league and then raced out to 8-4 before falling apart coming down the stretch. And got a couple of good, young, talented guys, but they're going to lose two guys who have been terrific players in their 4 years in Miles and Stewart. Number 13 and number 14 all time on the scoring list as those two guys are backed up against each other.
Shot clock at 2. Bowman. Well, he is nearing his career high. Trey Bowman now with 28 points. One more and he'll have his career best. Danny Stewart with the answer at the other end. And again, Bowman at 29 at Florida Gulf Coast on December 1st. He's at 28 right now. Lowry. He traveled. Immediately he looks over to the Iona bench with a smile on his face to Coach Kluse and points to his own chest saying, I know, I messed up. Take a break here.
At times, against the pressure defense, they put the ball in his hands in the middle of the floor. And Tim Kluse with an opportunity to get some guys, some of the starters.
Deshaun Gomez has come in for the first time. Also, Ryden Hines, a freshman from Anchorage, Alaska. And there's Bowman, who finishes his day, presumably, with 28, one shy of his career high. And he was part of that barrage of threes early on that set the tone, Rob.
Yeah, he finished 5 of 9, but had 4 of those early on. And you look at the stat sheet, too. The other thing that jumps out at you, Doug, 19 assists. And so pretty much just about where they average just under 18 a game coming in. Their ability to spread you out, share the basketball, and then finish plays. Right? It's one thing you can spread the floor, you can pass it, but you don't have guys that can make shots. It doesn't work. They've got guys that can make shots.
And only 7 turnovers. With that pace they keep. Pereira, the outgoing senior for Ryder, knocks down the 3.
And that's a good point, because when you get ready to do their games and you look at the stats, that's the stat amongst everything that always jumps out at me. You know, that they play so fast, yet they value the basketball because they pass it so well, and I love their spacing.
Oh, and Stewart's career has just come to an end on an offense.
Out with 12 points. And that's what we talked about, Doug, the finale of it. Now, it seems like your career started just yesterday, and now it's over.
I talked to him a month and a half ago about it, and he couldn't believe at that time there were only 11 games to go. And then I talked to him again, and it's only 7 games to go. And it does fly by. Hines missed the layup. Let's see if Coach Baggett now takes the opportunity to get his other seniors out of the game to allow them to get a round of applause from the folks who've made the trip here to Massachusetts from Central Jersey. And there goes Tommy Pereira. We should mention Tommy Dempsey was the head coach at the time that these 3 young men were recruited to Ryder. Coach Baggett was on the staff. But Coach Dempsey now the head coach at Binghamton. Grant Ellis is checked in for the Gales as well. He's number 11 in white. Xavier Lundy has come in for Ryder, as well as Brandon Channer. And now we'll see Emerson Bursis come in, and there goes the third member of this class of 2014. Three good guys, fine young men who've represented the Rider University Athletic Department extremely well over the last 4 years.
Miles and Stewart with over 1,400 points in their career. Talk about how close they were as teammates throughout their 4-year career, and they'll remain close in the record books. Stewart at 13th overall, and right behind him, appropriately so, Miles at number 14 all-time in Rider history.
And lifelong friends. They got to campus before they were freshmen, the two of them, before Pereira got there from England. And so they kind of had bonded by the time Pereira got there, and then they indoctrinated Pereira by picking on him over his accent for a couple of weeks. And they have become the best of friends, the three of them, and they will be lifelong friends. Channer fouled. And for Tim Kluse, reason to smile, as the entire second half has been reason to smile, as they've led comfortably, up by 16 at the break. And they will have a date tomorrow afternoon in the semifinals with the winner of our next game between Canisius and Siena.
And looking forward, they split the regular season matchup against the Golden Griffs and were able to sweep Iona. Excuse me, sweep Siena.
Foul called on Channer in his exuberance just to be out on the floor. Sledge was not trying to score, but he will go to the line with a chance to get a couple of more points. Now, we will say, Rob, over the next couple of days, survive and advance many times. This game for Iona, not so much survival, just fine-tuning and getting yourself ready for the semis.
Yeah, they really didn't have much game pressure on them because they handled the basketball so well and shot it so well right from the get-go. They came ready to play.
It's the most points scored by a team in a MAAC tournament game in 3 years, the 94. And another foul given up will give Emerson Bursis an opportunity to get a crooked number in the box score. That'll do it. Iona, the #1 seed.